Hey everybody, it's Charlie from DM Moto, and the compact and midsize crossover categories are the most competitive and purchased here in the United States of America in 2025. The Toyota RAV4 was the best-selling vehicle last year, and pretty much every brand, their compact crossover or maybe their midsize usually comes in as their top-selling model. Now in the luxury segment, that's no different. The Lexus NX and RX have been their best sellers for many, many years. And the NX has always been a little bit of an afterthought to the RX, especially in the previous generation. It was small, didn't really look that great. So for 2022, going back a few years now, Lexus entirely revitalized their NX line. They made it a little bit larger, a lot more attractive, and a great bit more functional to the average buyer. So here we are in 2000, coming into 26 now. This model provides 3 different powertrain options, a few different kind of suspension and ethoses, if you will, and overall a very compelling solution here to many, many buyers and shoppers who are kind of single car drivers, maybe 1 or 2 people, empty nesters, somebody looking to elevate their primary car game past your standard, normal, everyday mainstream brand. So today we're going to go for a drive here in the NX 300H front-wheel drive, which is a new trim for 2026, getting that front-wheel drive option with the hybrid powertrain. I'm going to go over my pros and cons with you after I've spent a week with the car, and at the end of the video, put it on the DM Moto Leaderboard. Now, if you do want to see more on the NX, check the link below. We've got a dedicated review to the 17-speaker Mark Levinson audio system. I've got a full breakdown of the infotainment system, and we also tested the fuel economy on the highway steady state with this hybrid powertrain. So you can find all of that linked below. Now, doing a quick walk around before getting into my pros and cons. The reason that the compact crossover is so popular is because it works so well for so many different types of shoppers. This is essentially the family sedan now here 20 years later. You have enough cargo area to put plenty of things. You can do luggage, you can do groceries. With this hybrid model, you still are getting a little bit of storage space down here, but unfortunately, no spare tire, I don't believe. So right lane hog is not going to be too happy about that, but it is nice to get that storage area under there. A little bit of cargo storage as well, and some tie-down hooks. This is a power rear liftgate, and in this luxury trim, you can kick it open and closed. Very nice to have there. Premium fuel necessary, unfortunately. Also some strange door handles. They're electronic, so this element doesn't move. You simply press a button on the back of the handle and it opens up. Door doesn't open very wide, so if you're loading car seats in there, it's going to be a bit of a bummer. But getting in here, I am 5'10", and my seat up there in front of me is set for my height, and I am plenty comfortable back here. I've got a good amount of recline, although that reclinability isn't adjustable. No, it is not. So you're stuck. Oh no, actually it is. There is a slight bit of recline change. How did I get that? Is it down here? Okay, so there's kind of 2 spots it can latch into. Interesting. All right, back here we do have air vents. We've got no rear heated seats. That's a bit surprising, but we do have a 12-volt and 2 USB-Cs, and then a flip-down center armrest. It's giving me some hard cup holders, seat back pockets on both sides, panoramic sunroof, and of course some dome lights. And again, showing you these door handles, they're powered, so if I press right here, it unlatches the door. And it's kind of cool because the NX actually watches for oncoming traffic on your side, or pedestrians, joggers, bikers, etc. So if somebody were running by the car here and I tried to open the door, it would prevent the door from opening, it would beep at me. But then if I press and held it, it would still allow the door to open. There's also a physical pull right here. If you pull twice, that'll engage the lock manually. So if power were off in the vehicle, nobody would be stranded. And something I do appreciate, it's very subtle, but you've got proxy key lock and unlock even on the rear door. So if you're bringing a child back here, or a purse, backpack, etc., you can come straight to the rear doors, put it in, and then head to the front. I've really been liking this infrared red paint on this one since we've had it. However, this is the F Sport model, F Sport handling technically, which gives us some dark accents, some larger 20-inch wheels, and a little bit more sport-tuned adaptive variable suspension. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the pros and cons. It's not something I would choose for my NX, but I understand some people might want to go a little bit more sporty in their driving. So getting started on my pros and cons. The first one, we're gonna hop in here, take a look at the front cabin. This came to me while wrapping up the highway fuel economy test. This is a busy cabin in here. I brought to mind my buddy Chris over at Topher Drives. He owns an early 2000s Lexus GX. And the cabin in that car, you get in, it's so open and expansive and serene and peaceful. This is the opposite of that. Even right in front of me here, you have the screen that's pulsating, got a lot of information. Down here, you've got varying materials. You've got a gray plastic, a piano black plastic, and then this kind of nicer accented plastic here. You've got a wireless device charger that can slide in there. That is optional. You've got a little cargo compartment that really doesn't do anything. I can't imagine what you'd put in there. And then, if we turn the car on, you're greeted with both a substantially large center screen and a head-up display in front that is again optional, and then a digital gauge cluster, all of which are beaming information at me all the time. And between the tightness of how this is all laid out and the information overload, if you will, even spending an hour or two at night chilling in this car, it's not a relaxing experience. It's a very it's busy. It's visually busy, and despite this being a nice car to drive, it results in an experience that feels overwhelming regardless of how you're using it. It comes down to how everything is sort of packaged in around you and how it all works and its functionality. So it's kind of a strange complaint. I don't think it's one I've had before on a vehicle, but it's not a relaxing cabin. And on top of that, there's all of this going on in here, but yet it's not that much of a practical or functional cabin either. You do have a center console here, which is average size, and you can open it from either side. That's kind of a fun bit of engineering there. But you've got average size cup holders, a little bit of a center storage well here, this kind of nifty wireless charger that pops in and out, and a glove box, and a little bit of a sunglasses holder. But other than that, not a ton of places to put stuff or things. You have this little compartment right here. Will it fit a cell phone? No. So maybe some gum or something like that. But if you get in here with two people and some water bottles and snacks, it's going to fill up quite quickly. So all of this space, yes, it to some people might look nice, and it's got kind of a cool design, but I could go for a little bit more functionality. Give me some storage right here, give me a little bit larger door pockets, give me a larger center console well right here in order to put stuff. Next con comes with the F-Sport package. I could take or leave the sporty driving aspects and the looks, the black accents. But when you get the F-Sport package, you get these seats that are surprisingly tight. And I am not a very large person, 165 pounds, 5'10", and I am borderline uncomfortable with this seat bolstering. Now, a smaller individual, somebody like my mother who's interested in purchasing one of these, yeah, she's probably going to find these really comfortable. In fact, she did find them very comfortable, and my wife also found them very comfortable. Smaller people. But if you were any larger than kind of an average size built man here in the States, you're not going to be comfortable with the bolstering in these seats. It's surprisingly tight. And then you've got 20-inch wheels as opposed to the 18s that would come on this car without the F-Sport package. So yeah, it might handle a little bit sharper, but the ride is going to be compromised. And then I noticed that this car has paddle shifters. I guarantee you that I did not even realize this car had paddle shifters until I went to start this review, because never once in my time of driving a 240 horsepower hybrid luxury crossover did I ever feel the need to manually shift a CVT, continuously variable transmission. There aren't even gears in this car, so it's fake simulated gear shifts in a vehicle that has no need or business to be driven spiritedly. I mean, I guess it's cool that they have them instead of not having them for somebody who'd want them, but I would entirely skip the F-Sport package and save myself some coin, as well as comfort. Next con. This is going to seem strange, but maybe if you own an NX, you would recognize this, or maybe if you test drove one. Based on where the door handles are, and the door pulls, if you will, and perhaps the robustness of the build quality of this car, I found it hard to get the doors to close all of the way. And it goes for every door around the car. Oftentimes I find myself kind of not having them closed all the way. And it seems to be something with, again, where you're torquing on the door and where you're sitting, but it's happened in all 4 seats and for multiple passengers as well. So very strange complaint, but interesting that I've had trouble shutting the doors properly. Very minor, I get that. Next con, and it kind of just happened, but it's a really hard thing to show on camera. But despite me liking this powertrain, I'm going to talk about that later in the pros, for some reason, Lexus has not been able to master the handoff between the regen right here, which we're in right now, decelerating, and then the friction brakes engaging. We'll see, I'm going to come to a stop right now. If you're driving really light and easy, light braking, right there, all of a sudden below about 2 or 3 miles per hour, the friction brakes grab and engage. And they, especially when the vehicle's cold, when you haven't used your brakes yet in the day, it dramatically slams on the brakes. And I don't quite understand that, because we drive EVs and hybrids all the time. My wife has an Equinox EV, a Chevy that should be much more unrefined, much less refined, I guess the best way to say that, than this Lexus. And yet that comes to a stop butter smooth. I don't understand why in a Lexus it's so hard for me to get smooth handoffs and departures from the hybrid to the friction braking. I would like the friction brakes to kick in maybe at about 10 miles per hour and slowly hand off right now, as opposed to that hard engagement around 3 and 2. And I think if you slow down a little bit more aggressively, you don't notice it, but gentle stops are what causes it. The next con, I went back and forth between including this or not, and I ultimately chose to, because it does mar my experience with newer Lexuses. It's these steering wheel controls. If you haven't used them before, they're touch-sensitive controls that you customize based on what function you want them to perform. So, right now, this one on the right controls my cruise control. But if I press this button right here, then it adjusts the display, both the display I see in front of me and the display in the head-up display. So if I set my cruise control here, let's go 67, now I can't change the screens in front of me. So I'm stuck on, what am I viewing right now? My trip average MPG. So if I'm just cruising on the highway and I want to see, how long have I been driving or something like that, I can't switch screens from the screen in front of me because of the way these controls are configured. I don't know if that's a safety thing or just a laziness from the engineering standpoint, design. Either way, it's a disappointment. And they're not difficult to use. It's not too hard to rub your finger around a little bit, engage the control, and then get the functionality to happen. And I understand it allows there to be more functionality with fewer controls. But there's something nice, and I'll go as far as to say luxurious, about having a simplicity to your control suite. And this is convoluted to me, and despite having driven many Lexuses with it, I just don't like it. I'm not saying it's a deal breaker, and I'm not saying you can't get used to it. I'm sure there's going to be owners that come in and say, I actually like them, or I got used to them very quickly. That's fine, but there are other cars I prefer to use, and that needs to be mentioned. Coming back here static for my pros, and the first one is the styling. Now, you will have to apologize for some of the bird droppings on this car, but aside from that, I think the NX lineup looks fantastic. I like the sort of, it's a little aggressive for me, I will admit, but overall it's a very nice, cohesive design. I like the headlights, give or take the grille. I like the wheels. I like the shape. I like the colors used and the accents, and I love the way that it all comes together in the rear. And it's got this Lexus design language that, again, just kind of looks like a smaller RX. I think they both look really nice. But then, something else that's really cool on top of that is Lexus will give you many of these colors free of charge. So you can get your standard white or black or whatever, but you can also get a nice green color for free. You can get a cool blue for free, and by free I mean included in the price of the vehicle. And to get this cool infrared or their copper crest, it's only an extra, I think it's $550 or $650 or something like that. Very reasonable given the price of the overall vehicle. Well, the last car I reviewed was the GMC Acadia, and every color on that, aside from white, cost extra. And that car was significantly more expensive than this. Yes, it's larger, but what I'm saying is it's very cool that Lexus not only offers all these colors, but offers them at reasonable costs. In fact, I went and built out an Acura RDX and the Genesis GV70 before shooting this review, And you pretty much could only get grayscale or maybe one mild blue and red option on those cars. So no green, no orange. The Lexus NX definitely going harder on the colors. I think that's very cool. Next pro is the sizing. I think they nailed this interior and exterior size for, again, somebody who's primarily just driving for themselves, maybe taking a spouse or a partner or something like that in the car, but sometimes wants to use the back seats for friends, guests, picking up family, something like that, or maybe laying the seats down and using it for utility, because the rear seats are just comfortable enough for pretty much any normal sized adult in the back. The headroom's good, the legroom's good, everything's there. You can fit a car seat with a little bit of finagling. If we pop this cargo cover off, which is very easy to do, fold that back and fold these seats down. I would like to have rear seat pulls back here, but fold that down. Very substantial amount of cargo space in order to put stuff in there, probably about 6 feet or so of length. And then you can go fold those right up. Some reviews that I peeked at before shooting this one mentioned the NX is kind of small, and I don't really agree with that. I mean, it's a compact crossover. I think it fits very nicely, and it's just large enough to have adults back here without inconveniencing the front rows, and you can put some stuff in it. So I think it's a very nice maneuverable and functional kind of size for daily driving, as well as being functional enough to have people and things. And then ultimately, if you want a bigger version, you go up to the RX. For the next pro, I am surprised that I'm about to say this, and I think there are going to be people who disagree with me, but so many brands are going to digital-based climate controls. So if that is going to happen, I think the Lexus option here and their execution of these screen-based climate controls is one of the best, because you do still have physical rollers for temperature. And I've used them multiple times throughout the week. I mean, in Southern California right now, it's 56 degrees here in the morning, so it's chilly. And then it's been up to almost 80 in the late afternoon. So you're very rapidly and wanting to quickly adjust that climate right there. But all of the other controls are built in right here. The seat controls, the fan speed, auto, etc. is right here. And then if you need even more, you press climate and get a few other options. They always stay up in the screen, and what I've realized is very important is their large buttons right here. There are other vehicles like the BMWs that are further away and smaller controls, and just that little bit of difference, it's tougher to tap them, and you have to take more attention off the driving. Would I prefer nice physical tactical controls? Yes, but if they are going to be buried into the screen, I like them like this. For the next pro, I'm going to put on our seatbelt, shift this into gear, and head off, because the next pro is the Powertrain. And it's not only the Powertrain in this version of the NX, but it's the Powertrain options in all of the NXs. You have an optional non-hybrid turbocharged inline-4, giving you plenty of power, giving you simplicity and reliability, and that comes with all-wheel drive. You have this 2.5 liter plus a hybrid that you can now get in both front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. Nice to have that front-wheel drive option if you live somewhere where you're never going to encounter inclement weather, you're never going off-road, and you want a little bit extra fuel economy and save a little bit of money. So that allows Lexus to drop the base price of the NX here a little bit. And then you have a plug-in hybrid option, which offers plenty of power and a little bit more of that EV driving experience. And this hybrid powertrain is very well executed. Toyota and Lexus have been making hybrids for a long time. It's smooth, it's relatively quiet. When you get on it hard, you definitely hear that 2.5 liter sing out. But I'll come away from this light here. Hear the engine kick on. I mean, how innocuous of a powertrain is that? It's very smoothly getting up to speed, providing me very good fuel economy throughout my time with the car. We got 36 on the highway, but driving this very casually with people and all different sorts of things, having the climate control running and everything, it's not difficult at all to get upper 30s, maybe even into the 40s, depending on how you're driving. Very straightforward, easy to do with this hybrid. I will say it does require premium fuel, so that's going to hurt you at the pump a little bit, but if you're somebody who does not like to waste gasoline, this is great. And then it's still powerful, it's quiet, it's refined, and you have options if you want something different. Also, quick little nerd benefit for those of you who really like to geek out on your powertrains. now we have an energy flow screen. For some reason, a lot of the new Toyotas and Lexuses with this new infotainment, they got rid of the energy flow screen for the hybrid, so you couldn't see where power was coming to or going from with your powertrain, and now you've got it. I like that. Next pro, super minor and should go without saying, but gosh, is this car quiet and comfortable. I think it would be even more so without the F-Sport wheels, but cruising on the highway, cruising down the road, going over bumps, suspension, noise deadening, everything like that, very Lexus. And the last pro, the pricing. Now, I bet you didn't expect to hear that when it came to something like a Toyota product, because everything you read in the comments is, oh, Toyotas and Lexuses too overpriced, they're not worth it. I disagree. This NX, if I spec'd it exactly how I would go out and purchase it, I'd get a premium, so one trim above base. It would get me, I think, heated and ventilated seats. It wouldn't get me the Mark Levinson sound system, I don't believe, but most of the functionality of this Lexus and the niceness, the refinement of this Lexus I'd get, and it would cost less than the average new car transaction price here in America. It'd be about $49,000 MSRP after destination, and that's with all-wheel drive and this hybrid powertrain. That's a pretty darn good deal. It actually costs less than the Genesis GV70, which doesn't offer a hybrid. It costs just a tad bit more than the Acura RDX, which doesn't offer a hybrid. I think the BMW, the new X3 is terrible. I think they cheaped out on that car dramatically. Yes, it's more fun to drive, but I don't buy a compact crossover for it to be fun to drive. This is interesting. Okay. So there are some very good options in this class. It's a very competitive class, but I actually think this NX is very competitively priced and very fairly priced for what you're getting. It feels like a genuine luxury product, and I think it's priced reasonably. So here we are, the Lexus NX is wrapping up and revisiting the first time since I think about 2023, since we had this model. I quite like it. I think they did a lot right with this car. There are a few frustrations, but no car is free of frustrations. And I've been happy spending time with it. I've been enjoying my time, which is not something I can say about all the cars I've reviewed recently. But before we take one last look at it, we do have to put it on the Daily Motor Leaderboard. Coming right up to the end of the year here on the Daily Motor Leaderboard, current leaders, Ford F-150, Hyundai Santa Fe, and Honda Passport. Below that, Volvo V90, Jeep Gladiator. We've got a great top 10 for cars here, 2025. I think this is going to go just below the Honda Odyssey and right above the Honda HR-V in 12th place. This is kind of, put the wrong one there, didn't I? This is kind of right in the list where things start getting really good. Cars that I consider to be either at or near the top of their class. And I think the NX is one of the best options at this price point in this category. It really is quite good. Happily take it over just about any of these cars down there near the bottom. Do we have any direct competitors? I've been asking to get in the GV70, but I want to drive the electric GV70. It's been a little while since I've been in that. Yeah, not really any direct competitors that we've driven this year, but I'm very happy with it. It's hard to break into that top 10 right now. We're talking Honda Civic Si, fantastic car, Maverick, great car, Mazda 3, BMW 3 Series. I mean, these are all class leaders right there. Very cool cars. But I think Lexus has done a fantastic job here with the NX, and if you're in the market for this class of vehicle, I think this is a great option, and you can get it in good colors. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the NX, check the link below for our infotainment breakdown, our Mark Levinson sound system review, or our highway fuel economy test. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.